Hey there, so today I'm going to show you how to create a wire accident. And what I mean by that is if you've seen that movie Ghost Ship, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about right now. But what we're going to try and do is make it look like someone has fallen into a wire fence and the wire has actually sliced through their body. So I'll be making a really simple prop at the start, so making some fake wire out of string, and anyone can make this. And then I'll be showing you how to incorporate that into a makeup, and I'll use nose and scar wax, which I know is not everyone's favorite, but you can swap that out for silicone to make this a more permanent makeup if you want to wear it out to a party. Hopefully get something from this and enjoy. So what you'll need to create the fake wire is some silver acrylic paint and some PVA glue, and we'll be making a mixture of these two in a 50-50 split. You'll need a bowl and just a brush to be able to paint that twine with. I've just got some twine or string that I got from a craft store here. What you're looking for is something that isn't coated, so you don't want a wax coated string, you just want something kind of soft that will absorb the paint. You need some form of strong adhesive. I've got a 2-part epoxy, and if you don't have this you could just use super glue. Tongue depressor just to mix the glue up with, and then a pair of scissors and a sheet of acetate. So this is actually quite thick here. If you don't have acetate you can use cardboard as well, but we're going to create a backing that will let us adhere this wire to our faces a lot easier, and just some scissors to cut that out with. I also use this acetate to mix up that epoxy glue as well, so I can throw it out later on. So what you want to do to start is make a 50-50 mix of both of these ingredients, so the silver acrylic paint and the PVA glue. So once you've created that paint mixture, what you want to do next is get that piece of string, and it might be easiest to actually tie this up between 2 points, so maybe the back of a chair, so between 2 chair legs, or if you've got a tripod or something like that. You could even make a pile of books and basically just sort of put this in between the pile of books as well. It just makes it a lot easier to paint. So once you have it suspended in midair, just grab that paint and then go over the top and actually paint the string. And then once you've completely coated it, just let it dry for as long as you can, so a couple of hours, and what you'll actually end up with is something like this. So this is a 50-50 mix of PVA and acrylic paint, and as you can see, if I hold it at one end now, it's actually quite firm, but I can bend it easily as well, and it should spring back pretty well. And what we want to do next is we want to create the kind of backing plate which will allow us to stick this to our skin. So grab that piece of acetate, and if you don't have acetate you can get a little piece of cardboard, and what I normally do is create just little squares of this stuff. So that's them there, they're actually quite small, I'm not sure if you can see them on the camera there, excuse my messy hands. And then grab some of that epoxy glue. I'll just use a spare bit of that acetate there, and you only need a tiny amount of this stuff as well. And then just mix that glue together, and once you've mixed that glue up, what you want to do is grab your fake wire, get the end that you've cut off, and then just dab a little bit of it into the glue, just so you've got kind of a ball of the glue at one end. And then grab a piece of the acetate that you cut off previously and just stick that to the end. So what that does is that creates a little backing plate for us to be able to now stick that on our skin. And what I find the best way to do this to let it dry is, if you've got a cup that you keep your brushes in or something like that, is just get this and rest it inside that cup, obviously with the acetate at this end, and then just let it sit in there and dry completely. So here's a couple of wires that I've created now. They all have backing plates on them and they're all completely dry. And what this allows us to do is have more surface area to be able to glue these down on the skin. So what you want to try and do if you're sticking these down on your body is find an area where the skin doesn't sag or move too much, or doesn't have that much elasticity, and you can stick a bit of skin adhesive down. So if I just hold this with my fingers either side now, as you can see, it stays completely horizontal. So what you'll need to create the makeup part of this tutorial is some form of eyeline pencil or lip liner or something to make a mark on the skin. You need some Q-tips, sculpting tools, a fine brush, either skin safe silicone or nose and scar wax depending on how permanent you want this to be, some alcohol and your skin illustrator palettes or cream makeup, a good adhesive, so I've got Prosaide and I've got Telesis 5 here as well. You'll need some spirit gum if you're going to use nose and scar wax, some petroleum jelly just to smooth things out, a couple of sponges, so an upholstery sponge and a stipple sponge. You need your fake blood, and you'll also need a pair of scissors just in case those bits of string are a little bit too long. And that's it. What you want to do to start is work out exactly where you want these wires to intersect the body. So take the lip liner or eyeliner pencil or something similar and just mark out those lines of where you want the wire to go through. I'm doing it on my hand, but you can definitely do this anywhere else on the body, and I'll put up a couple of screenshots now so you can see exactly where this effect can be used. So I'm just going to draw these lines and then continue them around to the opposite side of my hand. So once you've marked out the line, what you want to do is take some of those fake wires that you created before, and what I find is when I'm sticking these down, a variety in the length of the wires is actually quite good. It makes this effect look more realistic. And then the best adhesive I find for this is something strong like Telesis 5 or prosaide as well. And what you want to do is you want to put a little bit on the back of these, and then you want to put a little bit on your hand and wait for it to get tacky or dry out a little bit, and then just get these wires and press them in place and hold them there for a few seconds. Now what you want to do once you've applied the glue is stick these down in place and then just hold them there for a few seconds and they should stay still. I now have those wires stuck to my hand, and as you can see, they don't look like they're moving. And what I want to do is just repeat that on the opposite side of my hands. Those wires are now stuck in place. And the next part is to build the skin up around the outside of these. So what we want to do is not actually add too much silicone or nose and scar wax. We want it to be quite subtle, because obviously a cut like this wouldn't damage the skin too severely, especially if it went in quite fast. This is easier to show you on my hand, as I said, because I can still open up jars and containers like this. So I'll use nose and scar wax just to kind of keep this simple and make sure that I can get through the tutorial quickly. So you want to add just a little bit around the outside of these, and we're going to go in now and just build up that skin around the outside to make it look like the wire has been dragged through. So I'll grab a bit of nose and scar wax. As I said, we don't need a lot of this, just a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to roll up a little worm of this. So if you make a little hook out of the nose and scar wax, and obviously this would be different with silicone. If you were using silicone, I would just put the same amount in about the shape of this around the outside here. So I'm gonna stick that down now. And then just with this longer part, you want to drag it out along the white line. So we want this to be the torn flesh, or the torn skin, I should say. And then just grab a little bit of petroleum jelly on your fingers and then start smoothing that out around the outside. So you just want to repeat that process now around the outside of all of these wires. Just to add to the realism, what I'm going to do is, if you've seen my sliced finger tutorial, this is a very similar trick, but you want to give the illusion that there's been a cut in the skin, or that the wire has gone up through the palm here. And one way to kind of do that is if you grab a little worm and then just make the bottom part of that cut protrude out a little bit more than the top. That actually helps exaggerate that line a bit more. I've now gone and put wax around the outside of all of those. I haven't focused too much on the detail and obviously the quality on this side, just because it's too hard for me to apply. But I wanted to put a little ridge of wax around the outside just to make it look like the wire had actually pulled through the skin. So I'm going to dab around now and and just remove that shine and the petroleum jelly off my fingers. And the next step we want to do after this is go back in and just redraw that cut line to make sure that it's continuing all the way through this nose and scar wax. Grab a bit of petroleum jelly and then get my pointed sculpting tool or something similar, and then redraw that cut line into the nose and scar wax again. So we want this to continue all the way through to the other side, and just to sharpen up that wax a bit more. Once you're happy with the cut lines, you can go back in and finesse the detail now. I find going back in with a brush as well, just to help clean up some of those really sharp lines, helps too. So I've gone in and finished that now. I'm going to go in and add some colour. What I'll do first of all is just start with a wash of the rose adjuster. And I like using fan brushes to do this sort of thing as well. I find that these actually help with the kind of mottled effect in the skin on the palm. So just start with really light washes first and just dab over the top. You can use a chip brush and flick colour on if you want to, if you're comfortable doing that. Once you're happy with the skin matching, the next bit is to go in and actually create the full cut. So what I like to do is pick a dark colour. You can either use black, but what I prefer is this ultra blue colour here. And this is the colour that we'll use to carry around the hand to make it look like the line is continuous. So a lot of this illusion is actually just paint work as well. Go in and start a thin line. I've gone in with that blue colour now just to continue that line all the way around my hand. And just to add a bit of variation, what I'll do is I'll add a tiny bit of black into some of the deeper parts just to exaggerate the depth a bit more. So I'm just going to focus the black in close to the wire here. And then just on the edge here as well, just to darken this up a bit more. And then once you've created that cut line all the way through, I go in now and just add a little bit of flesh colour on the inside edges here, just to make it look like the wire has actually cut through the skin. I'm happy with that colouring now, and it looks nice and deep and like the wires have gone all the way through my hand. So the final step is just to add some blood and then we're done. I'm just going to start by adding some blood in close to those wires. I'm just roughening up those lines a little bit now by adding some blood either side. Don't forget to get the underside of those wires as well. Don't forget to add some blood just in random places. It doesn't necessarily have to be near the cuts. I'm just going in now with a damp tissue just to clean up some of the blood around the cuts. I want those bits of wax that I've built up around the outside to come through. As you can see, if I put my hand down on the side like this, it looks like the wires are going all the way through, and you can reposition these as well. Like, they're pretty stuck at the moment, so you could alter them slightly just to make it look like it is one continuous wire going all the way through. And then you can see the nice metallic sheen from that string as well, so that looks exactly like wire that's gone through my hand and torn it up into pieces. But that is my wire fence accident. Thanks for watching.